Hello and welcome back to Far Beyond the World. We will be continuing where we left off. I nearly gasp, taking a step back at the sight of what I assume is the Great Hall of the Chief. The space is grandiose, with 3 columns on each side propping up the elevated rooftop. I look around, taking in the light cascading from above and seeping in from a set of windows on the far side. I spot the throne as we approach the middle of the room, which features an open hearth surrounded by tables. The gathered took notice of our arrival, 5 wolves in total. The chief sits comfortably in the center chair, leaning to his left side and clearly discussing something with Vithyr, who replenishes his drink. I haven't seen the other wolves before, not even at the feast. It would seem they're all enjoying an afternoon snack, aside from a solitary slender old female, which is either dead or asleep. I'm guessing that's Anel. Finally, I thought the damn rabbit had bolted. Fetching our own wine grew tiresome. A stubby, nasty-looking she-wolf speaks in a rather unpleasant tone, drawing my attention to the right. They don't do that after we made an example of the last one. Her rounded neighbor replies, and they both laugh sardonically, causing my skin to crawl at the remark. It would seem that one of the silent folk tried to quit his place as a ward. I guess it doesn't work that way. So this is the human. Huh. The female muses, straining her ant-sized eyes in my direction. Just the sight of that thing makes my bowels churn. I very much doubt you can see me, you old bat. Why is it dressed like that? Is that a sapphire set in gold? I thought he was found naked. If your bell's churn now, perhaps it's best he's dressed at all. Vithyr laughs, allowing his voice to rumble across the hall. Quite right. The female nods, picking through some of the niblets on one of the plates. Wait, what is this? She suddenly mutters, toying with something in her paw. You damn fool! She nearly howls at Tryst. I told you to bring me dates. These are figs, you idiot! The old female throws a hard lump towards him, hitting the bunny on the chest. As the projectile plops onto the floor, I look down at it. I might not know how a candied fig looks like, but that there is a date clear as day. That bitch needs some spectacles pronto. And by the by, get her attitude checked. The bunny nods apologetically and rushes off behind one of the doors. I swear, if she throws anything at me, I'm going to secretly spit in her food. Use shorter sentences, please. The old male mutters, rubbing his temple. I cannot stand the sound of that language. It's like your tongue was swollen and you're choking on it. Ugh, not this again. I really need to be extra careful. I cannot distinguish their language hopping. In all honesty, it feels as if I'm being pranked. You, monkey, come here! She calls out to me. Come, here! She reiterates when I'm not speedy enough with my reaction. I approach slowly, standing next to her chair. The old hag grabs my hands harshly, pulling closer, almost causing me to trip. She twists my wrists to reveal the inside of my palms and leans in. For a second, I think the female is about to lick them, but now I see she's squinting to better see. Good thing about those furless beasts is that it's quite easy to gauge who they actually are. She speaks, smacking her lips. Skin, you see, without fur, wears off easily. She finally shoves my hands away, forcing me to take a step back. This one hasn't worked a day in their life. Hardly true. Vol did take me through my paces, and I did clean Rannoch's house twice over now. A noble, then. There we go again. And you say he doesn't speak either Vanar or Freyr? No. Curious. Tryst gives me a worried glance as he returns with another bowl. He bows respectfully as he presents it to the female. She plucks one of the dates and munches on it impatiently. Good, much better. She waves off dismissively while I regard the other plate on the table. It's the same fucking thing. As I roll my eyes, I feel a paw run through my lower back, causing me to jump up in shock. That dress is quite exquisite, not to mention the belt. Doesn't it strike you a bit insulting to have a slave walk around in such finery? Bingo, so the distinction isn't lost only on me, but on the wolves as well. Ward my ass. How did Rannoch even afford this? Scandalous! I wouldn't know. As far as I remember, Rannoch's pay remains untouched in the treasury. Perhaps you should look in on this. Your boy seems to have sticky paws. Since when spending one's own coin amounts to stealing? Why would he waste such a fortune on? It wasn't Rannoch. That dress was bought by Vulgar. A gush of red wine splays across the room as the old male chokes on his drink. He's coughing real bad, and I nearly allow a satisfied smirk to escape me. I'm pulled out from my stupor by the sound of the female snapping her fingers at Tryst. You! Clean! She claps her paws, and her utterly contemptuous tone starts to irritate me. I watch with pity as Tryst nods and rushes to the side to fetch a water bucket and some cloth. You! Her annoying voice now echoes in my direction. Wine! She points to the old male's chalice. Wine! She reiterates as I decide not to respond. I'm dumb after all. No? By the moonlight, wine, you pathetic wretch! She growls at me, mimicking a drinking motion. On the outside, I simply nod gracefully and walk towards the side cupboard to pick up a jug, but on the inside, I am screaming. Tryst points with his hands to the correct flagon, and I nod to him gratefully. I begin to really feel sorry for the bunny. I do hope this level of abuse is not his daily bread and butter. I approach the old male, waiting a moment to allow him to end his coughing fit as he struggles to keep his cup in level. Finally, I just refill it. That's when the female pushes her own cup in my direction. I have half a mind to spill the wine all over her head, but I know better. Also, I wouldn't want to add to Tryst's load, seeing as he frantically scrubs the floor. Once both their drinks are replenished, she waves me away, and I step to the side. What's this nonsense about Vulgar buying a dress for a human? The male finally wheezes out. He nearly drowned in the wine. Nearly. What a pity. I doubt it was intended for the human, as that was over 5 years ago. He asked me to help him shop in Strambard. Why would he want to buy a dress? I don't know. Vithyr shrugs indifferently, only to snigger. Maybe he likes playing dress-up at night. He had the coin. The rest is of no business of mine. The female growls softly, annoyed that he dodged her question. And how did that expensive Tigeri dress end up on this human filth? Again, I don't know, nor do I care. He responds nonchalantly, however, I can see a slight shift in his expression. Why don't you ask him yourself? I'm sure Vulgar would love to indulge you. He proposes cheekily, and both elders simply cough it off in this typical geriatric way. I can have him stripped naked if that dress bothers you so. However, considering your gag reflex. The chief adds in a mocking way, but I don't find the joke funny. Yes, Farrak, very droll. Shall we then return to the matter at hand? Better wake her up, or is she finally dead? The old male points to the third elder, seated at the other side of the room, and I wonder the same. She's such a frail, ancient-looking female, and I didn't pay her any mind for the lack of movement. Enel! He calls out. Enel! Enel! The hag next to him shouts out, while throwing a candy date at her target. Oh, what was that? What's happening? Finally, life stirs into the old she-wolf. We were discussing Rannoch's scouting mission. Rannoch is Varric's son, right? Or is it the other way around? The female asks as I just open my eyes wide. Is this for real? What are you talking about? How could it be the other way around? I'm sorry. I'm only half paying attention. Haven't you been paying attention for the past 20 years? Get her some wine. Should clear her head. He points to me, and although initially I want to react, I remember that I need to double down my dumb act, so I just stand there. You! Wine! The male nearly growls, and that's when Tryst gets up from the floor, dropping the wine-stained rag back into the bucket. He approaches me and takes a jug from my hand. The bunny walks over to Annelle to fill her cup, while the two nasty elders glare at me intensively. What's the point of that idiot? What possible use could he be to Rannoch? My son seems satisfied with his service. He says he's a good attendant. The chief shrugs, taking a sip of his wine. Attendant? The hag scoffs. He's more like a pillar. Pillars are at least nice to look at. Ugly damn thing. Ruins my appetite. Tryst gives me an empathic look as he passes by to return the jug to the cupboard. Oh, this wine is absolutely lovely. What year is it? Last year, love. It's a young cast from my own reserves. It does hit the spot, doesn't it, Valeris? She smiles to the pudgy female, and her eyes open wide in annoyance. I'm Aldris! Oh, so you are. Annelle gives her another kind smile. Seriously, she's always bringing up my bloody sister. It's like she's trying to wind me up. I struggle to contain a chuckle, seeing the hag so easily upset. We're going to starve here at this pace. Vithyr grumbles and waves his paws gently at the bunny. Tryst, chickens. His voice, although loud, carries a rather polite tune. The bunny nods and bids me to follow him into the side room. The shelves are stocked high with different jars and containers. At a quick glance, it's obvious the chamber serves the role of a pantry. The two tables on the side are stocked high with different dishes, cold meats, fruits, and veg, and raw poultry. It's not cooked, I whisper, poking at the squishy chicken breast. Yeah, we're gonna need to do it on the spit. Can you fetch it? The one from the main hall? The bunny nods and I shrug, returning back to the sprawling room. Back to the point at hand. What are we going to do about the patrols? We can't send packs blindly into the woods when we don't even know what's happening at the border. I walk slowly towards the open hearth, trying not to draw too much attention to myself. I'd say we need to call in the outer alphas. Isn't that a bit drastic? Drastic? We've lost 2 packs in the northern reaches. I retrieve the long prong, careful not to burn myself with it. We haven't lost them. We know where they are. We just lost contact, which is a whole deal different. The subject of the conversation catches my attention, and I'm trying to be as tardy as possible while still remaining inconspicuous. We told you to wait another week before starting a panic, and yet you ignored us and sent Rannoch on a rescue mission. I didn't send him. I actually advised against it, but he volunteered away out of duty. Can't stop an alpha from trying to locate his missing tribes wolves, now can we? Because of his departure, the entire village is talking about them as if they were dead. Yeah, witnessed that myself. What if they are? If worst comes to pass, having our outer alphas mobilize is the right course of action. This is exactly the type of hysteria that leads to disaster. Young hotbloods uprooting civil governance through brute force. Are you suggesting that I'm planning a coup? I stop in my tracks, gaze towards the chief, whose expression betrays that he very much is losing his composure. Whether you plan one or not, it's besides the point. Warriors gather in one place and left idle inevitably lead to unrest. Psst, what are you doing? Tryst waves at me from the pantry and I pull myself out from my daze. We will deal with this as we always have, with patience and a clear mind. As I enter the room, I close the doors, but not quite, still very much intent on eavesdropping. Rannoch should be back in a few days. If the packs perish, then you'll be able to mobilize the entire tribe. Until then, we just wait. What's going on? They're talking about Rannoch's scouting mission and some political stuff. I mutter, passing him the spit and listening on. Either way, I doubt Vortigern has any designs on turning. He's preparing for another raid most likely. Which is more of a reason to stay put. If he decides to target the Tigeri, the last thing you want is to have an army amassed in your village. I've heard the word Tigeri. Please tell me those idiots aren't planning another war. The bunny whispers while impaling the chickens onto the prongs one by one. It'll make us look like accomplices. You of all wolves should know that tigers do not distinguish easily between us. I was a pup then, and I've seen what they're capable of. You don't want to invoke the wrath of the Tigeron. Especially not on account of someone else's foolish endeavor. I don't think so. I reply uncertainly, getting lost in their conversation. Suppose for a moment it's not a raid though. Suppose Vortigern very much is eyeing out other tribes. They seem to be worried about someone called Vortigern. Do you know who that is? Whole of Turnen knows who he is. He's a very ambitious wolven chief from the north, and very bad news for everyone. If they're actually worried about him, things are worse than I thought. But this changes everything. The bunny ponders, his expression beaming with determination. What does? You understanding them. Look, I know we got off on the wrong foot, but my people are always the ones to pay the price in any conflict. His voice is almost pleading. If you hear anything indicating that my people might be in danger, you must tell me. Of course. I nod. This was never in question. Tryst simply smiles, passing me the spit. It's quite heavy now that the 3 chickens weigh it down. Go in there and rotate it slowly. It'll give you an excuse to listen on. I nod and do exactly as told. Well, if that's the case, it was only a matter of time. What was it? 30 years since the last tribal war? I should know. Vithyr grumbles in annoyance, poking at one of his scars. Would have just been 20 had your father had his way. The female waves at the chief as I carefully install the prongs back into the hearth and slowly begin turning the handle. So, this is your counsel. Do nothing? Last time you took drastic action, we all paid the price. Perhaps now you will listen to your elders. Caution isn't the same as inaction. When facing threats of war, sometimes the best response is not to draw your sword, but rather reach for the quill. I noticed the chief and Vithyr exchanged exasperated gazes. So you are the peacekeepers now. His tone is so cynical that it makes me even doubt their true motives. Yes, we are. And if you claim to be so interested in peace, I don't understand your tardiness. When is Maeve going to arrive? Both wolves are of age now. We should move as fast as possible. Huh? Which wolves? I quite agree, this alliance was decades in the making. We can't let current circumstances sow any doubt in Enokane's mind. His firstborn is a prize in their own right. You're willing to let her slip through your fingers? She should be here around the equinox. The chief waves dismissively. That late? Why not now? The lover's moon would have been an auspicious sign to seal the deal. And perhaps even make them truly bond. I have a nagging feeling they're discussing Rannoch, and is intended, and I feel as if a rock formed inside my stomach. Oh, I dozed off again. What did I miss? The ancient female stirs up, and I almost forgot that she was even there. We're talking about Maeve. Oh, good. Some porridge or a pudding, perhaps. I was getting quite peckish. Maeve, not Maze. What is the matter with you? I'm sorry. I thought it was a working luncheon. You're becoming quite annoying. The old male snarls, and I try my hardest to look completely clueless, but it's becoming quite a challenge. Rushing this match would make us look desperate. I don't want the other tribes to think we're weak. Especially now, having the human here made us look like fools to begin with. Vithyr draws their attention to me, and again the old wolves give me nasty gazes. Just smile and turn, round and round the spit goes. Which reminds me, how did he manage to get past our patrols? Did you punish anyone? Like who? We don't even know which one of the sentries failed. If the human is here, they all failed. Should have selected any wolf and simply made an example out of him. Should have killed the mongrels as well. Damn, Tryst wasn't kidding. These two are absolutely horrible. In my time. Your time never came, old she-wolf, so you're barking under the wrong tree. Do we really have to have this talk during a meal? All those calls for blood make me lose my appetite. A discreet smile escapes me. Vithyr is such a good wolf. I guess the Tigeri really did rub off on him. This is not a silly matter, pup. In case your eyes went along with your senile mind, I am no pup, and haven't been called one in quite some time. Impertinent! Please, keep at least some level of decorum. The other kin are watching. The chief growls, pointing to me and Tryst, who's now arranging small plates with cold meats around the table. Then ask them to turn around and face the walls. Now, really? The male scoffs, clearly finding the comment distasteful. Have they been here this whole time? And now points to us, darting her very confused eyes between me and the bunny. I guess the others did not deign to entertain her question. In any case, if Enokin changes his mind, Rannoch can have my girl. The two of them are getting along quite well. I was right then. Maeve is Rannoch's intended. Don't be obscene. Your relationship with the chief is incestuous as it is. Vithyr coughs up his wine as he was just about to take a sip. Yes, Vithyr, don't be incestuous. The chief elbows his friend teasingly, but it only seems to aggravate the elders even more. If you lose a match, you lose the alliance that comes with it. Who's talking about losing it? I'm just saying that the boy won't have to go without a mate for long, should worse comes to pass. The females are practically crewing up for the fucker. Vithyr raises his cup towards the chief, and the male laughs back at him, with a clear pride in his voice. Do you really think that we don't see your little game? That we would allow you to accumulate enough power to tackle us head-on, you defective whelp? I could tackle you right here, right now, old man. The brown wolf stands up, and for the first time, I see his muzzle show very little cheer or levity. And you're going to allow him to disrespect us like that? Since my memory doesn't fail me, I can recall who was the first to throw insults. The chief speaks slowly, making sure that they understand the gravity of the situation. I'm going to brush it off to a heated exchange, unless you want to stand by your baseless accusations. It would be a shame having to end the day with a duel for Vithyr's satisfaction. The first time I noticed Aldress's eyes filled with something other than spite. She darts her worried gaze between the determined muzzles of both couriers and pats her friend on the shoulder. Heated exchange, nothing else. Right, Dran? Heated indeed. The old geezer concedes reluctantly. Would he really be so petty to throw his life away had she not intervened? Vithyr would make mincemeat out of him. You have lots to learn. The hag throws a nasty gaze towards the brown wolf. The mockery and contemptuous attitude you display is unbecoming of your position. The title of Varroc's advisor should have gone to a true wolf of merit, not a simple-minded brute. A brute? Vithyr is the sweetest wolf I've met so far, not counting Rannoch, of course. I was a top alpha of my generation's she-wolf. Every scar on my body is a badge of merit. He points to his many wounds as he takes his seat back. What were you, a den mother, and your friend over there a glorified quill pusher? Don't you talk to me about merit. Preposterous! And now, care to weigh in? Why are you dragging her into this? Is it because she's accomplished more in her lifetime than the two of you combined? How dare you! Now it's the old-timer who raises up from his seat. And now! Oh, I'm sorry. I was miles away. I was thinking that it would be such a joy to have some nice fruit punch. It has gotten tremendously hot in here. She fans her paw at her face as she gazes towards the fire. At first, we're both stumped but the old male quickly exhales heavily and throws his angered stare at us. You, bunny! Teach pig how to serve! He growls nastily, redirecting all his anger at me. What a coward, picking on the easiest prey. I follow Tryst into the pantry, seeing the bunny nearly seething. Ugh, not only they butcher our kin, they also butcher our language. As we enter the chamber, I watch the bunny scather about, bringing all different ingredients together. The whole conversation got me extremely worried. And you weren't kidding, those two are horrible cunts. The bunny chuckles, looking at me with a first genuinely friendly expression. They are cunts, aren't they? He laughs it off as he grabs a large pitcher and fills it up with some dried fruit. Fetch that flagon, there should be some merry wine left. I nod and uncork the bottle. I take a quick sniff and savor the lovely sweet aroma. Rannoch told me that the meeting to save my life took day and night on their account. I mutter as Tryst pours the wine into the pitcher. It would have driven me insane having to listen to those two. I should know, I've been there. It almost descended into a fistfight several times. I frown, passing him different containers he points to. Be happy it's just the two of them. There's more elders? Of course. He scoffs at me, in retrospect, silly question. Most of them live remotely though, spread across the territory. It's just a handful that live near the village. And among them, these two? I wince uncomfortably. Yeah. I had to concede, Eldris and Dran are the worst of the bunch. They are. Vithyr seems like such a good wolf. It amazes me that they're edging him on like this. They respect no one. I might not have my memories, but I'm sure that they'd be the top of the list of the nastiest people I've ever met. From the way the bunny prepares the punch, it very much looks like a sangria, just with dried fruits and spices. He adds some lemongrass and mint as well. In truth, this does seem like a nice drink. I need to quickly check on the chickens before they burn. All I need you to do is to simply add a splash of moonshine and stir it in. Okay. I nod as he passes me a small jar filled with the familiar, clear liquid. He then hastily rushes to the main hall. I watch the doors curiously as I hear the elders immediately abuse the crap out of the bunny as he enters their line of sight. Where's the damn punch, you lazy bastard? If he was my attendant, I would have whipped some life into his step. The remark causes my hands to tremble as I open the jar and I accidentally drop in the whole into the pitcher. Shit. I gasp, almost dipping my fingers into the mixture in a delayed reflex, but it's too late. The jar already plummeted to the bottom. Just as if on cue, Tryst rushes back and yanks the jug from me. No, wait! I try to stop him, but cover my mouth, hoping to God I wasn't heard. Fuck. I'm torn between just hiding or rushing after him, but I cannot leave the bunny to face the abuse alone. I simply walk out with a lively gait, trying to catch up to him, but I'm too late. Tryst pours in out a large serving, and the female wets her lips, only to jolt up in surprise. Oh! She gasps, with her eyes wide open. This punch is really fucking strong. I'm sure my face is white as a sheet while Tryst gives me a what the hell look. What did you do, you damn savages? No, I quite like it. Puts life back into my veins. The ancient she-wolf smiles and musters another sip. I'm not sure if she's actually enjoying it or not, but she puts on a brave smile. Seriously, you should have gotten rid of Tryst a long time ago. That kid has an attitude problem. Tryst is the bunny, right? Or is it the other one? How could it be the other one? Can you actually see him? He looks a bit underfed. Is he one of yours? Her question causes the two to exchange stumped looks. It's almost as if she's trying to derail them to prevent further abuse. Don't you remember the meeting from a few days ago? Rannoch brought a human into the village. A human? Here? Don't be silly. Are you quite sure it's not just a bunny with some horrible skin condition? She scoffs and takes another shallow sip of the overproof punch. A bunny? He's bloody standing right there. Human, in the flesh. Oh, so he is. But who would do such a thing? Rannoch! Rannoch did it! Darling, just let it go. At this point, it's like talking to a potted plant. I'm looking at Annelle's peaceful, yet sunny expression, and I can't help but feel she's simply messing with them. Once Tryst placed the punch onto the side cupboard, he returns to my side, absorbing the rotating chickens. Not that this little exchange wasn't amusing, but we need to return to the main business. Whether you like it or not, we need to send word to the outer packs. Being cautious is one thing, being caught unawares is another. Agreed. I'd rather have all the alphas mobilized and ready should the situation in the north threaten our way of life. You're treading on dangerous ground, Varrock. We told you our position on the matter. If you keep ignoring our counsel, we'll have to invoke a howl and put your position into serious deliberation. Good. Do so. The chief shrugs, catching them by surprise. If you do, however, you'll bring all the alphas right here where I want them. I can see the two elders exchange aggravated looks as they realize he has cornered them. Uncomfortable silence falls over the room, and I look to the bunny, who disappears again into the pantry. He comes back with two small wooden boxes. They're beautifully decorated with floral and knotted patterns, clearly holding something important. As he opens the lid, on one of them I immediately recognize the white salt crystals. I chuckle under my breath. I swear if he calls me Lord one more time... Tryst takes a pinch and carefully sprinkles it over the rotating poultry. You're strong-arming us yet again. What else did I expect? Two brutes without a shred of sense between them. The old female finally breaks the silence. Considering both me and Vithyr bled for our tribe in a war of your making, I see us as more of an authority on the matter than you ever could be. Quill pushers, politicians, and diplomats, eager to spill each other's blood from the safety of their dens. If Vortigern decides to attack us, I want to be ready, not caught unawares like a stalked prey. I am willing to concede that a full mobilization might not be in our best interest, but sending a warning out to our wolves is not a provocation. The bunny unlocks the other box, revealing some dried herbal mix. Again, he dusts the chicken with a blend, and I smile with satisfaction as the immediate aroma envelops the room. The smell is quite divine, with small drizzles of fat dripping onto the fire below and empowering the scent permeating the air. You always find an excuse to get your way. Perhaps Rannoch's little mission is part of your ploy to sideline us. We should have demanded your pup's head for this atrocity. The hag waves her grubby paws at me in a dismissive manner while the chief tenses up. He throws her the most murderous stare I've ever witnessed, and my heartbeat instantly skyrockets. The male looks more feral than when he was ready to kill me, yet the old fools don't seem to pay him any mind. Only Annelle seems to regard me, her eyes locking with mine, and her ears twitching as if she's picking up on my distress. Your father would have never. Well, he isn't around now, is he? The male growls viciously, his wet lips trembling with anger, revealing gritted fangs beneath them. I notice Vithyr place upon his friend's shoulder, trying to calm him down, but the chief brushes it away. When was the last time you visited his name tree to meditate? Last time I needed to piss outdoors. How dare you! Aldris's sidekick rises up and slams his paw on the table in another display of defiance. Who does he think he can intimidate here? Maybe me, but he would have no chance with the chief or Vithyr. So much posturing. I almost sigh, noticing Annelle continue to give me discreet gazes in this rare moment of her alertness. She looks back at the spectacle in front of us, simply closing her eyes in resignation. You're here to advise me in governance, not to poke your nose into my family's affairs. Last time you did so, I lost a loved one. I won't let you do this again. The male growls once more in a clear threat. The ancestors. If you mention the ancestors one more time, I shall make you one of them. And if you ever threaten my family again, I will use your collective name trees as kindling at our next feast. This escalates quickly. The two elders look at him utterly stumped, and quickly throw their gazes at the female on the other side of the room, clearly looking for support. But Enel is back again in her torpor, eyes closed and unmoving, almost as if she returned to the land of the dead. "You were always profane and obscene, Varrock, and you choose your company well." She darts her squinty eyes towards Vithyr. "Pray your combined blasphemy doesn't anger the spirits. Now with sheltering this human, you will have a lot to answer for when you finally face their judgment." Again, failing memory seems to be a recurring motif here. Not that you would notice. The brown male scoffs in a nasty tone. I guess both his and the chief's patience ran out. "Verissa made it clear that this is the will of the ancestors. You have no legs to stand on." The elders give me another round of their spiteful looks. "Verissa is a young bitch, barely past her first heat. She does not speak for the ancestors." "And I suppose you do?" "You think yourself witty, but in truth, you just reveal your ignorance. We knew half the ancestors you now worship. We shared this world with them." "Yes, they just had the decency to leave when their time came." I almost choke on the remark, trying to cough it off as my reaction to the smoke filling the room due to the fat dripping on the spit. "The Blood Moon has anointed its champion, Varrock. You do not think that Aluna forgives and forgets." "You speak for her as well now?" "I suggest you keep away from my family." "Rannoch broke the law, and I will break your jaw if you threaten him again." He clangs his cup against the table, spilling half its contents, and I shudder. Rannoch's position seems to be very much hanging on a thread, and I try not to tear up. His father is the only thing that stands between my wolf and those bloodthirsty monsters. "You must be joking." "Do I look like a jester to you? I had hoped that my father taught you all what happens to those who don't stay in line." "I warned you, Varrock. Times have changed. You cannot threaten us all." "You serve the tribe at our pleasure, and we can find another should a need arise." Tryst notices my mortified expression and pokes me subtly. He makes a drinking gesture and points to the chief. I take it as a cue to fetch the jug and give him a grateful smile, as he just makes an excuse for me to remove myself from sight. My distress must have been getting quite clear, and had anyone noticed, my ability to understand them would become apparent. As I approach the cupboard, I realize how shaky my hands are, and I need to stabilize myself. Just as I reach for the jug of wine to refill the chief's cup, I spot the pitcher with the overproof punch. I look back, ensuring that no one pays me any mind as the heated exchange continues. "You can bark all you like, Aldris. Without the quorum, you cannot do a thing, and no one will support you at the moment. Especially not with two missing alphas." I pour myself a cup and thirstily down it, grimacing heavily. Fuck, and now wasn't joking. This punch is really fucking strong. "Convenient." "And how convenient is it that your son is responsible for finding them? Wouldn't surprise me if he's gone for weeks." Perish the thought. Those last 3 days were a nightmare without my wolf to guide me. I sigh, straightening my dress and trying to compose myself. I take the wine jug and slowly approach the chief. As I pass next to Vithyr, he winks discreetly, almost as if trying to give me courage. The chief doesn't even regard me, simply pushing his cup in my direction. I look at his wine-stained paw and refill his drink. "You can think what you like." He sighs in a resigned tone. I feel sorry for the man, and his little outburst when we met makes so much more sense now. I thought Rannoch was overwhelmed. This wolf is literally graying away because of those two nasty schemers. I have such a newfound respect for how fiercely he protects his son, even in the face of his potential errors. "How long do you think you can maintain this charade?" "If only I had a charade to maintain, old fool." "Oh, did someone say charades? Are we playing games now? What fun." The two nasty elders exchange annoyed looks and simply sneer at the other female. "You have been an immense help, Adele, as always." "It is my pleasure." She smiles obliviously while the other two stand up. I rush behind them to return the jug to the table and rejoin Tryst at the hearth. "Aren't you going to eat?" "I'd rather share a meal with pigs than with you two." "That can be arranged." The chief scoffs while the old hag throws another date at her counterpart. And now, come, we're leaving. Oh, so soon? But we only just got here. Ugh, I wish you would just die already. The old male mutters as he passes next to me. He gives me a very mean look, and I fight the urge to just stick out my tongue at him. Seeing them leave, both the chief and Vithyr exchange relieved looks and return to a casual conversation. I watch as the elderly female struggles to stand up, her arms shaking as they strain against her own weight. Her friends pay her no mind, and she's effectively left behind. I come to her side, gently sliding my arm under her arm and aiding her to her legs. My, what a gallant little pup, she mutters, drawing approving gazes of the chief and his friend. Lend me your paw until the doors, won't you? She points to the exit and I nod. Her walk is quite uncertain, and she takes her time between each step. It was nice meeting you, young man. Do you like playing games? She asks idly, but I don't respond. I used to love playing games when I was a little pup. My mother often took me to visit with my father and the neighboring tribe. Oh, such fun we would have. He always came up with the silliest of larks. Her genuine cheer brings a smile to my face. But only one has to be my utmost favorite throughout the years, to spot a true wolf. She lifts her finger, bopping it into the distance. You see, there are only two types of people in this world, wolves in sheep's skin, and sheep in wolves' coats. The female leans in, whispering as if revealing a secret. A true wolf is no fool. He lies in wait, patiently gauging his prey, only to engage when it favors his pack. She straightens up again. And then you have the sheep, parading around full of bluster and hubris, flaunting their fake coats like shields. You and I know the truth. A piece of fur is no armor. It's only their bluster that fools the rest. But not the real wolves. Real wolves know they only have to lay in wait for the right time. My heart skips a beat as I begin to think that she's not what she appears. Her ears twitch again, and her eyes center on me with a smile. It's good to see another wolf around. This village has become a pasture as of late. She sighs as we arrive at the doorway and I release her from my hold. She bows her head respectfully, and I reciprocate the gesture. With the last of the elders gone, the remaining two wolves seem to have regained some of their usual humor I associate them with. I take turns with Tryst, rotating the spit, trying not to draw much attention to either of us. The chief simply vents off his steam and engages Vithyr in mocking the two cunts that left. I quite understand them, really. I wish I could work off some steam myself. They did get under my skin. Especially with how fixated they seem on Rannoch. Once the chickens are done, Tryst removes them from the spit and places them on nice silver plates. He garnishes them with some garden roots and vegetables to make the dishes more presentable to the wolves. We place the platters around them, plenty of food for the two males, and they begin to idly pick at their meals. Poor fellas, suffered hell of abuse. Good thing they can't understand it, eh? Ugh, the fucking things are more trouble than they're worth. The chief sneers at us, but I don't mind. He's still seething, and so would I if someone threatened my son like that. We simply take a step back to give them more space. Come now, they're without fault here, you know that. Vithyr places his paw on his friend's shoulder, and the other male sighs in defeat. I know. But I cannot help but blame the human for this perilous situation. The brown male tries to speak, but the chief raises his hand to cut him off. Even if he is without fault, he put Rannoch in grave danger. And Rannoch put him in such in turn. They're riding in the same cart, friend. I don't despise that whelp. The chief sighs and waves his paw at me. In fact, he seems a positive factor. Rannoch's changed since his arrival. The decision to undertake the search took me by surprise. That's a true wolf behavior. I thought he would always remain a pup. See? Vithyr smiles. We have to see this through, no matter where the chips may fall. Besides, if not the human, Aldrich would find another reason to get on our cases. We were in perfect mutual check thus far. This human introduces an element of chaos I do not like. We were dancing to their tune for 20 years, old friend. This might be an opportunity to take away their fiddles. I hope so. I do hope so. The chief nods and waves his paw invitingly at both me and Tryst. We approach cautiously, Tryst more so than I do, as he clearly didn't understand where this conversation went. To his surprise, the chief passes to us one of the plates we just arranged. Here, eat. He grumbles, nodding towards the far end of the table. We both bow respectively and take the plate with us to the designated area. Tryst gives me looks of utter disbelief as we take our seat. With some distance between us, the wolves return to their idle banter, Vithyr trying to cheer up his old friend with some jokes and reminiscing. The chief seems to enjoy their conversation about a joint love interest from years past. Apparently, she had a pair of tits one could bury his muzzle in. To each their own. I notice the bunny's reluctance to eat the chicken, and I wonder for a moment if he's not vegetarian, but his hungered expression quickly dispels this notion. I think he's worried it's some kind of trick. I take the lead and simply cut off a strip from the breast and put it in my mouth. I immediately am hit with a delicious blend of roasted chicken, thyme, and coriander. All that time turning the damn spit was worth it. Seeing my liberty in enjoying the meal and no following repercussions, the bunny finally joins in. I wish we could have engaged in a similar banter as our betters. However, we have to be mute. The meal and the scenery is enough to entertain us for as long as it takes to clean the chicken to the very bone. Throughout all this time, the chief and Vithyr didn't even ask once for our help, the brown male refilling their cups himself and fetching things from the cupboard on his own. In fact, that's pretty much what he was doing from the very beginning, seems we were here at the whims of those two old farts. When we're finished with our meal, the chief dismisses us, and Tryst leads me back into the pantry. I help out with bringing various plates back into the room, and we save up the lasting foods by either putting them back into their respective containers or leaving them out on plates for later consumption. Perishables are dumped into a barrel that serves as a disposal bin. Apparently, they use it for composting later, which again shows that nothing really is wasted here. I immediately think of recycling. This is a very green society, which makes sense since they live in the forest. Once the tables are empty and wiped clean, the bunny sighs. This was quite a workout. Good work. Good leave. The chief waves at us, and I almost smirk at his uncharacteristic broken speech. By Tryst's annoyance, I deduce he was again using Old Silovan. We simply bow respectfully and walk towards the entrance. Once again, we're in the atrium. Tryst takes a seat on one of the couches. He reclines back, resting upon the wall, and I look around as he passes a spot beside him. Are we allowed to... Only the chief lives here, and he's busy right now. What if someone sees us? All the attendants are bunnies. None of my kin will sell you out if you're on my side. Besides, I have good ears. I'll hear anyone approaching. Huh. I smile, taking a seat and resting my back. Damn, this cushion feels good. My feet are killing me. I look at my abused legs. I really need some shoes. I'd say it's your heart that's going to be your hand. Huh? You were quite rattled in there. I guess I should be thankful I cannot understand them. Huh. Yeah. Did you learn anything, little spy? The bunny winks at me playfully and I grimace. More than I would like. Seems Brannock pretty much has a target on his back. Yeah, they do seem to dislike him a whole lot. Maybe, but now it seems more serious. The chief was very riled up. I saw that. And the elders, ugh. I sigh, shivering slightly. They seem one step away from deposing the chief. Tryst looks into the distance, clearly thinking over what I have just said, and a short pause falls upon us. He seems uneasy, and I give him an encouraging gaze. Look, in all honesty, I didn't mean half the things I said about your master. If you can even call him that. I raise my brow in confusion. I know he doesn't see himself as such. He tried to be friendly with me, I couldn't bring myself to give him a chance. But I do see him different. They all are. Who? The young wolves. They're from a different stock. Even Varric and Vithyr are. The elders are the warmongering, bloodthirsty savages stuck in the past. The bunny almost sneers, his choppers on full display. Varric put an end to the raids and pillaging. In fact, as much as I hate to admit it, Tryst began prospering under his rule. The forest didn't experience war in a generation. Such a lengthy peace. It's a much-needed breathing space. He readjusts himself, begrudging his own confession. Although still very much oppressive, Varric loosened the iron grip on the Silevan folk. We're allowed to practice our faith again, and even some of the wolves return to the old ways. The elders resent that. I ponder his words for a moment. Seems like Rannoch wants to continue the course taken by his father. He wants even more change. I guess that's enough for the elders to despise the mere idea of him. It's not just that. I don't understand much of what's going on here, but I gathered Rannoch has hampered one of their schemes. How? I don't know. Tryst shrugs, slightly defeated. It happened before I arrived here. All I know is that it somehow involved that white wolf you dance with. You mean Tano? Yeah. Huh, the plot thickens. But Rannoch and Tano are very much at odds, at least 3 years now. It's hard to imagine the two of them working together against the elders. Unless that's what they fell out over? I consider discussing this further, but again, I just met the bunny. I shouldn't divulge Rannoch's private matters to everyone. Especially since his life seems to be hanging in the balance, and as the chief said himself, I could be the one to tip the scales. I feel extremely unsettled and my heart speeds up a little. What is it? I worry about Rannoch. I worry because I don't know what dangers are lurking out in those woods. But worse yet, even if he returns, his life is still in peril. More the reason to keep your head down. He bops me with a shoulder. The only way you can help him is by not accidentally tripping him over. Easier said than done. Rannoch has many friends, and it's clear he has one in you as well. I try not to blush at his frankness. Just make sure he doesn't lose them. He'll need all the allies to weather the coming storm. Storm? Tryst looks at the floor for a moment and sighs. There is a war brewing. The entire force whispers about it. We don't know with whom and when, but it's coming. Why did you think I was so intent on figuring you out? He jumps off the couch. I don't want my people to get caught up in between again. If I learned of anything that would be to your kin's detriment, I will tell you. I promise. I know. The bunny nods, giving me a genuine smile. I can smell deceit and danger. One of the perks of being a preykin. You're too much all over the place to be a threat. I smile back and stand up, trying to extend my hand. This doesn't mean I trust you. He mutters reluctantly, eyeing me out. But I suppose we can have a truce for the time being. Tryst sighs and we shake on it. I'll take that over your stink eye any day. Is it that effective? The bunny chuckles and I join his mirth. You have no idea. Good to know. As we walk outside, Tryst turns to face me with an inquisitive look. Are you okay to head back on your own? Since it's my first short day in a while, I'd like to unwind with my friends. Oh, yes, of course. I nod eagerly. I'll be fine. The path is quite straightforward. Yeah. So is acting ignorant, yet you managed to mess that up. Ha ha. I smirk, shaking my head. Just don't stray off the path. These woods are easy to get lost in. I nod again and wave the bunny goodbye as he heads towards his dorm. My, what a day. The walk back is quite refreshing and gives me a chance to digest everything that happened today. The elders proved everything Rannoch said and more. I cannot stand the thought of those two nasty beasts. Enel, on the other hand, although nice, she's an enigma. And of considering my current situation, surprises are not exactly welcome. I'm glad I was able to get to know the bunny a bit more. Now I understand his motives at the very least. He's simply trying to survive while at the same time looking out for his people. I would do the exact same thing had our roles were reversed. I closed my eyes, taking in the air and the sounds, trying to get rid of all the negativity accumulated because of those two old farts. This fairy tale slowly takes on a dangerous turn. I get back to the village without any problems, and my head is slightly clearer. The tribe's wolves give me a few funny looks as I pass through the main square, but nothing more. I try to give a glance towards Vol's shop, but we're still ignoring each other, I suppose. If Vol wants to act like a pup, so be it. I sigh and walk down the path leading towards Rannoch's house. Hey there, pet! I look at the brown female rushing out from Vithyr's house to greet me. She's carrying a small wicker basket filled with some bread and pastries. Been waiting for you. My father asked me to give you those upon your return. And of course, Verissa returns the basket. The girl exaggeratedly points to herself, the shop, and the basket. Take them. She pushes them into my hands, and I cannot help but smile and bow graciously. Indeed, an apple didn't fall far from the tree. I'm glad to see you in good spirits. Going to the villa can be quite stressful, especially with those grouches around. I look at her wide-eyed, and she mimics an old, hunched person shouting into the distance. Oh boy, you said it, sister. Ugh, drat, you don't understand me, do you, sweetie? She frowns, and I just try to maintain my dumbfounded expression. Let's see. If you... The female gently touches my chest. You, sad, scared? She pantomimes those expressions, and I really struggle internally not to erupt into laughter. Come here? Her two fingers stride the air, and then she points to Vithyr's shop. Okay? She asks hopefully, and I just sigh, nodding in gratitude. Damn it, girl, I really want to not like you, but you make it impossible. Good. She smiles and plants a kiss on my cheek. I'm actually stunned, rubbing the spot where her nose has just touched me, trying to conceal a blush. See you later, pet. She returns to her home, and I think it's better I get out of sight before I draw someone's ear. Home sweet home. I mutter under my breath, really glad to see the cottage again. I jump over the uneven step and regard the porch. Tonight's the night when I enjoy myself out in the open, just taking in the beautiful scenery. After the week I had, I deserve a little vacation. Plus, the smell of the woods outside reminds me so much of him. Ugh, I miss Rannoch so much. I plop the basket next to the door. As I pass the table, I gently touch the dandelion to steady my emotions. The trek up the villa and back again really took the wind out of my lungs. I guess my stamina is lower than I thought. The earlier cleanup didn't help either. I take a cup and pour myself some water, drinking it up in one go. I decide to rest up a bit, so I walk to the bedroom and plop onto the bed. My legs are killing me and my eyelids feel extremely heavy. I simply nod to close my eyes for just a moment. I don't sleep well. In fact, I'm having a bit of a nightmare. My torturous dreams finally force me awake, sometime well into the evening. As I open my eyes to see the cottage flooded with darkness, I take a relieved sigh. I can't remember what I dreamt about. All I know I had to do something with Rannoch. At least no whispers were involved this time, so I can easily brush it off as my worrying. I get up and walk to the kitchen. There's still ashes from this morning, but I'm too lazy to get this sorted now. I simply stack new pieces of wood and start a fire. One strike, two strikes, and then the kindling is burning. I'm getting better at this. Within moments, the room floods with the warm hues, and I decide to light up the candles as well. I'm still tremendously tired, but I need a moment's respite from my uneasy sleep. I'm worried that I might have stank up the dress during my rest, but it was airy enough to prevent me from sweating. I really ought to be more careful with it. I won't be going to bed dressed up like that. It's disrespectful. My gaze ventures towards the window and I see the moon high up above the treetops. It's such a lovely evening and I remind myself of the promise I made this morning. Day or night, nothing stops me from enjoying the lovely views of the porch. I pet softly the dandelion as I rustle about the kitchen, gathering some nibbles to take out with me. I place 2 rolls, a sausage, and some cheese onto a plate and fill the tankard of ale. Unwinding like this was a dream come true ever since I realized this place had a porch. I creak the door open and step outside, immediately walking towards the table. My skin shivers slightly as I take a seat. The chair is quite cool, but it's a welcome sensation. I just admire the scenery and wet my lips, noticing a faint glow of a fireplace in the distance. Rannoch said that that's where the sentries camp sometimes. I flash my brows and simply return to unwinding, stargazing, and breathing the wonderful scent of the forest. It's almost as if he's here with me. I wish we could share a drink. I raise my mug towards the moon, knowing that the same ardent sphere is watching over my wolf wherever he is. Your health, wolf. Stay safe. I'm out here, maybe half an hour to an hour, just trying to clear my mind to get ready for sleep proper, when I suddenly feel something strange. It's almost as if I'm being watched, and for the first time I feel uneasy here. I raise up, looking around the nearby bushes, but I cannot notice anything. The incredibly disturbing feeling persists, and I'm becoming more and more alarmed. It's like my prey mentality triggered for no reason, which makes me think there must be a reason. I throw my gaze towards the faint campfire in the distance. It's maybe 200 meters away. I think I should alert someone. I get up to my feet and walk towards the stairs, instinctively jumping over the uneven stone. As I'm on the path, I take clear direction to the campfire and head for it with a determined gait. I manage 10-20 paces perhaps when 2 familiar wolves step out from the shadows to intercept me. Tyrant, don't! It's the guards that tackled Rannoch the day I was discovered. Hey, you! Stop! What are you doing? The warrior that stood guard over me tries to restrain his friend, but he's not budging. Instead, the wolf approaches me with barely contained snarl, and I wonder what his intentions are. Told you we should have kept an eye on him. Oh, so they caused my weird unease. I almost want to laugh it off as I was actually going to fetch them on their own account. He can't just go wandering around the village. Well, he does have Rannoch's crest on his collar. He's no ordinary slave. And another wolf that calls a rose by its name. As an attendant, he's expected to run errands. In the middle of the night, Rannoch's not even here. Look, I'm seriously done fucking with Rannoch and his bullshit. He finally snaps, pushing the other wolf away from me. My father is still pissy after we raided his house, and a dislocated shoulder was high enough price to pay for tackling him. I'm not fucking around with his pet as well. He points to me, and again I feel a bit sad that he got roughed up. The other wolf gives me a look of utter contempt. He can barely keep his fangs from showing. That's just not right. Having this creep. What are you two doing? Vol's voice reaches us from behind, and we all wince, surprised by his sudden appearance. Volgar, we just noticed this one sneaking out. Sneaking out? The black male raises his brow, stopping right beside me. Was he also watching me? How many eyes in these damn woods are centered on this cottage? Nope, I haven't noticed anything. It was all his idea. Dreyer offers a hasty excuse, pointing to his defiant companion. Is that so? I mean, he shouldn't... Why would we... Tyrion stutters and finally cuts himself off, seeing as Vol's brow raises higher and higher. Damn, the Black Wolf sure knows how to intimidate everyone into submission. Didn't realize the piglet was under house arrest. Are you two now charged with guarding Rannoch's property? No. Oh, Vol feigned surprise. So, your duty tonight wasn't to harass his livestock? No. What is your duty then? Sentry duty, just as I was about to remind this idiot. Again, Dreyer tries to pull his friend away, finally managing to budge the wolf from his spot. If you were in my pack and I would find you away from your post? Forgive us, it won't happen again. Vithyr's son bows respectfully, cutting the blackmail off. Make sure it won't. Now fuck off, scrubs. Both the wolves bow deeply and hastily retreat towards their campfire. I cannot contain a smile at their complete show of deference and submission, but it's quickly wiped away by Vol's scornful look. What are you doing, Piglet? You're mistaking this for some sort of getaway. You're in danger. You do not go outside at night. He states sternly, and I point towards the cottage. I was just sitting out in the porch. Something made me feel uneasy, as I was being watched, so I wanted to fetch the sentries. Turns out that they were the ones stalking me. The blackmail scoffs and proceeds to walk towards the house. As I come to his side, I cannot help to fight the urge to call him out as well. They weren't the only ones stalking me, though, were they? He frowns, but surprisingly he doesn't take it badly. I was only looking out for you. I know you're an impulsive little piggy. Takes one to know one. He stops looking back at me with a shocked gaze, but quickly turns away. His expression changes, however, it's something quite different from what I expected. He's hurt, and instead of his normal lashing out, he simply storms off towards the village. Vol, wait! I try to catch up, but he's not slowing down. Please, can we just talk about this? There's nothing to talk about. I grab his paw and try tugging at it, but he's having none of it. The other paw takes a long swing, ready to send me into the dirt, and I close my eyes. As I expect the hit, his paw stops just inches away from me. He stands there, rattled, and looks back at me with disbelief. Vol. I plead calmly, and his shock only grows. He's stunned that I'm not afraid, that I do not flinch. As far as I'm concerned, you haven't broken your word. You haven't hurt me. Because I chose not to be hurt. You promised Rannoch that you'd take care of me. That's a word I cannot keep on your behalf. His brows curve upward in a sorrowful expression, and I can see I hit the nail. I don't want this poison to fester between us. We might not be friends, but I know that this will eat at you and affect your relationship with him, with her. You're an honest wolf. Try to be an adult one too. And then it happens, something I never expected to see. Vol's lips curl up in a snarl, but it's not directed at me. I can see the anger brewing inside of him as his eyes well up. He's furious with himself, unable to process the emotions that he kept bottling up for so long. I got a whole casket of beer in there, and knowing now that there's a porch, you don't have to worry about looking defective by stepping inside the house at night. I try to ease the mood by introducing some levity, and surprisingly, it works. He scoffs at me in amusement, somehow managing to suck up the unspent tears. He's too much of a wolf to shed even a single one. Come. I bid him to follow, and we walk towards the house. We don't have to talk if you don't want to. Just enjoying beer in each other's company will do. I rush into the kitchen, grabbing a spare chair and dragging it outside. I place it on the other side of the table, inviting the male to take a seat. As he makes himself comfortable, I run back inside to fetch him a mug of ale. I dip the tankard into the barrel and carefully bring it outside. Here you go. Thanks. He mutters indifferently, not really regarding me. I take my seat and try not to stare at him. Silence overtakes us, and we're simply taking sips interchangeably. Minutes pass, and it's clear that the blackmail is mulling over something. His expression doesn't betray much, but his eyes fixate in the distance, indicate that he's very much focused. I wonder whether perhaps I should try to engage him, but I remember what Verissa said. I need to give things time. Just the sheer fact that he accepted the invitation is enough. I really don't want to fuck it up by being pushy. And so my patience is rewarded. After a few more minutes, The wolf finally sighs and breaks the silence. I shouldn't have done that. He nods towards my neck. No, you shouldn't. I nod slowly, taking an idle sip of the ale. But I understand why you did it. He doesn't regard me. His red irises are set into the woods in front of us. Despite his stoic mask, I know he's struggling deep inside. If he didn't have any qualms, he wouldn't agree to sit down with me. I want to reassure him that despite everything, I do not condemn him. I know you're not a monster, Vol. At least, I like to believe you aren't one. What do you know? He mutters under his breath. Nothing. I shrug. But I follow my compass, and it tells me to trust you, despite the fact that a part of me is screaming, "Fly, you fool!" I chuckle and he scoffs in amusement, finally looking at me with a half smile. Perhaps you should listen to your survival instinct. Is that what you like? For everyone to be afraid of you and keep their distance? What I'd like is for our lives to be simple again. Guess there's not much of a chance for that. The wolf takes a long, deep swig and stands up. For a moment I think he's about to leave, but instead he simply heads inside to refill his mug. I wait patiently, gazing towards the stars and the moon. I've noticed that I cannot recognize a single constellation, not even Orion, which I'm sure would be visible since it's early spring. I approach the balustrade and lean out to cast my gaze across the sky. Nope, not a single familiar star. I chuckle, taking another sip. I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore. Seeing Vol return, I straighten up and sit back. He's licking off the excess liquid from an overflowing mug. The wolf plops heavily onto the chair and takes a deep breath. I pick up the plate and pass it to him, offering some nibbles. Heh, good pet. Much better at your job than that scowling bunny, that's for sure. I almost blush at the compliment, but the jab at Tryst spoils the moment a little. He's coping with a shitty situation. Vol gives me a curious glance while munching on a piece of sausage. I return the plate back to the table and sigh in resignation. They're not exactly here of their own free will, are they? Where's this coming from? Everyone seems to have an issue with him just because he's not grateful for being kidnapped. Like, how else is he supposed to act? The black wolf looks into the distance, thinking over my words, and I wonder if I should perhaps leave this topic alone. But Vol is full of surprises. It's one of the reasons why I refuse a ward. Huh? I blink. As one of the top wolves, you're expected to have a bunny cater to your every whim. I hate that idea. It makes one meek and decadent. It serves no real purpose other than to inflate one's own ego at the expense of another. I'm taken aback by his words. I did not expect Vol to be this deep. Rannoch hates this bullshit as well. It's the elders who insist. Keeps the other kin in check, they say. If I'm to be honest, I wonder why those bunnies don't slit our throats in our sleep. His words startle me a little. In all fairness, Tryst seems like he does hate most of his betters. I'm unsettled by the idea that there might be some trouble brewing. Oh, not to worry, Piglet. Vol picks up on my slight distress. It was a rhetorical question. They don't do anything because they know that we'd retaliate against their burrows. You can sleep safe. Yeah, that does not exactly lighten the mood. I frown and fall silent. It seems like none of us are happy about this whole situation, other than those nasty geriatric bigots. Why do they even get a say in anything? If this society is so meritocratic, what possible contribution those geezers could make, other than spewing out their outdated dogma? I know you're upset with him. He pulls me out of my stupor. That's why he left, right? You must have felt mishandled and lashed out. Even Tryst was acting out, but he didn't speak. I can only imagine what verbal beating you've given him. But he really tries to do good by others. Always did. You mean Rannoch? He nods, closing his eyes. I can assure you, He's as most uncomfortable with forcing you into the situation as you are yourself. It's just how things work around here. If he wants to change it, he needs to play his part and compromise. Yeah, I get that. I try to reassure him. True, I did get annoyed at first, but as the time went by, I understood every intention behind Rannoch's actions. He was trying to shield me from the uncomfortable truths, while at the same time accommodating me in every possible way. I'm actually awaiting his return, quite impatiently, might I add. You're fine, Piglet. He snickers, taking a long chug. You don't need him. You're quite capable as you are. You just need to believe in yourself more. You survived the villa. That's not an easy feat. And from what I heard from Vithyr, you did quite well of all things considered. The wolf winks at me, and I must admit it feels good to be praised like this. Rannoch seems to underestimate you. He means well, but sometimes you have to let others stumble and get out on their own. This little separation is a good way to jumpstart your self-reliance. Bull notices my confusion and takes another gulp. When you're dependent on someone, you're at their side out of necessity. Only when you truly don't need another is when the choice to be with them becomes apparent. That's when it means the most. Yeah. I agree, trying to follow his suit, but I'm nowhere near as accustomed to the bitter brew. If you're his path, then you need to at least stand beside him, rather than drag behind. Rannoch has a tendency to be lenient and to cradle everyone he meets. Despite appearances, it's not exactly a healthy nor helpful trait. Yeah, I get your point. The wolf empties his mug in one go and clanks it on the table. He stands up, this time ready to depart for real. I can see he's struggling with something, and I give him a moment. Eventually, he looks back at me with a worried expression. I still have to tell him what I've done. No, there's no need. I protest calmly, standing up and coming to his side. This is between me and you, okay? I made the promise to him. I nod, placing a hand on his shoulder. I know, but is it not up to me to decide whether I was hurt or not? He doesn't even acknowledge me, again locking his gaze with something in the distance. Look, it's forgiven and forgotten. Why make a fuss about it? Rannoch is extremely protective of me. He wasn't there, and you're not exactly subtle with your words either. He'll think that God knows what happened. I try to reason with him. I don't want this to become some sort of issue between you guys. But... Vol. I cut him off with a plea. Since we're talking so much about me standing up for myself, leave Rannoch out of it. For my sake, so he doesn't cradle me more than he already does. He takes a pause and then sighs heavily. Very well, but I still feel like I'm getting off too easy. Good. I agree with a smile. Then as penance, you must promise me we'll do this again. I raise my still half-full mug to him, and he smirks. Heh, cheeky little piggy. I'll see you around. He nods and hops off the porch, avoiding the steps completely. I watch as he walks towards the village, and I try to enjoy the remainder of my ale. Having resolved this little spat, I feel like I'll be able to sleep just fine. I give one final gaze towards Aluna, downing my drink and thinking of my wolf. Sleep well. As I stand up, I notice a shiny little trinket on the edge of the table where Vol sat. I pick it up to reveal the black wolf's IOU. I smile, shaking my head. I might have become one of the few people, if not the first one, to have his token. With that, I gather the things and head inside. Tomorrow's another day. To be continued. So that was a long episode, which I ended up having to cut into 2 pieces. For my own sake. Well, that was something, having the elders are clearly I guess because they are older and, the expression, you always have to respect your elders, they think that they're always right. But honestly, sometimes, you know, old ideas are just that they're old and outdated. And given what Tryst said about Rannoch's father and even Vithyr and even the younger wolves being, Rannoch's generation and on, that it seems like things are changing and the elders do not like that. They want to keep things still. And how Tryst mentioned that under Varrock's role, which is the chief, the burrows no longer get raided. So it's probable that things are getting better under his rule, but the elders again do not like that because they want to be, all controlling or whatever. And I take it that there was a line that said that the blood moon already anointed its champion. And if you recall, Tano, since he's very close to the elders, as everybody keeps mentioning, he has a moonstone that is colored kind of orange, which is, what you usually consider the blood moon to be. And I think that's what, a lunar eclipse. So my guess is that he's the one that was, quote unquote, chosen as the champion of the moon. What that means is, up in anybody's guess right now, but I'm assuming it also means that he's supposed to be very close with the elders, or that the elders immediately decided to like scoop him up because it's like, oh, he's a champion and he's not Rannoch, so I guess we could mold him into whatever it is that we want him to be. So that's probably what caused the rift between Rannoch and Tano, which is sad. But if Tano is not what the elders hope him to be and he's less moldable or less pliable to their whims, then maybe that's a good thing because that would mean that the chief, Rannoch, and Tano would not, follow what the elders would like them, would like to happen. And hopefully Anel ends up being an ally of sorts because she's also an elder, but I'm assuming she already knows that the human can at least, understand what the wolves are saying because she clearly picked up on the human's distress during that little spat that the other two were having with the chief and Vithyr. So let's hope that that's another ally, but we'll see what happens too, because wolves be sneaky. But anyways, thank you all for watching / listening. If you would like to play Far Beyond the World yourself, there will be a link down in the description. If you would like to support the creator and get early access to builds of Far Beyond the World yourself, there will be a link down in the description for their Patreon. If you would like to follow the creator on Twitter, there will be a link down in the description as well. If you would like to support the musician that has been making the part of the soundtrack for Far Beyond the World and part of the soundtrack for some of the Echo Project games, and maybe even other stuff, I don't know. They might have an extensive portfolio that they don't really share with the furry community. There will be links down in the description for their Bandcamp, the YouTube channel, and their Twitter. And if you recall, I was calling them Moe, but I think that's their persona name. But their professional name is Anthemics. So that's what I would be referring to them now. But anyways, I guess I will see you guys when the next update comes along. Oh, I still have to do Clifford's newest update for the Smoke Room, and that will be out sometime in the second week of May. Because this first week, actually this last week of April, I'm gonna have to be helping my sister with something very personal. And then the second week, it's basically this. It's something really bad that happened, and if in the time of COVID, you probably know what. So yeah, we're gonna have to be helping her. So while I will upload still, as consistently as possible, there will probably be like a little slowdown here and there. But like as soon as Ad Astra and Terra any updates for Arches and the Smoke Room and for Far Beyond the World. And when I Startup Password are released, I will be doing them and I will be releasing them when I can. But because of what's personal stuff that's happening, don't expect it to be like right away. But I promise that they will be up as soon as possible. But anyways, I guess I will see you guys later. Bye bye.